Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
Hello, everyone. Today on the show, we have leading trainer Justin Evans. Justin, thanks for taking some time out and joining the show.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thank you for having me, my man.
No, I'm always trying to be like Justin. I have 2 children. He's got 4. I had 4 leading trainers up at Emerald Downs, and you have countless titles. So, everybody wants to be like Justin.
Be like Mike or Justin, one or the other.
That's
be like
right.
Bob.
That's right. But congratulations on all your success. You were able to made a very serious impact right away, and I know you enjoyed it. And I told you you'd think, man, what a clean facility that is. So,
what an amazing place, Jeff. I mean, you had told me about it for a long time, and then to finally witness it firsthand and see just what a first-class facility it is, and how good the people treat you, and how much they love horse racing up there. It was a great experience, and hopefully I'll be able to make many trips back there. It's a wonderful place.
Good deal. Speaking of, after Emerald ended, Turf Paradise was a little bit on shaky ground. It was hard to see if they were gonna run or not run. So you ventured out to Louisiana. How did you find the track out in Louisiana?
It was a big difference. I mean, it's a different spot. You've got to really mix up your training. For one, it's a bull ring track out there. It's 3/4 of a mile. So you've got to kind of adjust things, and it's a place that's horses for courses, because it was a real kind of deep, sandy track. So I took a little time when I first got there and wanted to make sure everything was really fit, because coming off Emerald, a tighter, faster surface, it made a big difference, So we took a little time, tried to get a little bottom in some of those horses. So it put me a little behind running right off the bat. But, right before we got ready to leave, it was like we all kind of figured out the program, and the horses really started to run well. We didn't have a bad meet up there. I mean, it wasn't nothing to write home about, but I thought we held our own, and it was a good experience. It's a good place to be. They run for a lot of money, but it was just the difference in track surfaces and adjusting your training that you really had to make some adjustments that kind of got in our way at the beginning.
You and I both, we went through COVID, and, COVID tracks were closing. You had to make adjustments. Then tracks that you wanted to go to weren't open, or they were closed. So, these last, since COVID until now, it's been it's always trying to chase where you going next. I know you and I tried Arizona Downs, and then that kind of closed, and so you're always trying to figure out where can we go next.
Oh, and Jeff, with a family, it's tough, man. It's tough, because I made a promise to my wife a long time ago that it was going to be kind of family first. So I hate to travel without them. I hate to go any place without them. So taking the kids out of school from Phoenix, a school that they'd been in, that they were used to for a couple of years, and their teachers and their home, and making the adjustment. Thank God I got a saint for a wife and some understanding kids, that make it all happen. But yeah, since the COVID deal, it's thrown us for a loop.
Mine were a little older when I was on the road, and so I would do the traveling, and then the family was kind of at home base. But it was always nice to come home, and now with the new situation I'm in, I'm home all the time, so it's really neat. But I'm always rooting and cheering for you. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you about Louisiana when you were there training, I know that state currently isn't under the HISA rules. Could you tell any difference in whether it be medication or the rules and regulations? Could you tell a difference?
Yeah, a little bit of difference. The medication, of course, you could get closer with medication. You could use a little more medication. I don't know how much impact it has. I mean, anymore, I'm kind of a less is more kind of person. Early in your career, you think there's so many things you need to try and do, and then sooner or later you figure out that your best way to beat them is most generally at the entry box, So the void claim rules were way different over there, Jeff. They voided very few horses. You know what I mean? They had to, pull up or get vanned off or something to get something voided. Vet checks were a little different. They were still thorough, probably not as much as the HISA stuff. But other than that, I mean, I didn't see a huge difference or a huge benefit to anything, to be honest with you.
Did they have the whipping rule like they do at some of the other tracks?
They still adopted even though they weren't under HISA, they still had the whipping rule that was just six strikes or whatever it is.
Strikes.
Yeah. So they still stuck to that on things. Your workout rules were all kind of pretty much the same. Really not a big difference other than the medication and the voided claim rules, which I guess anybody can argue is good or bad or whatever, but you just got to get in and adapt. Me and you know how to adapt. We went through it in Washington, Jeff, with the HESA, the start in Arizona last year. So if they just get their system streamlined, Jeff, and make everything where people know what's going on, that's going to make things so much easier. The guessing and wondering how they're going to do it or what they're going to do, that's what makes it tough. You went through it forever. I mean, the not knowing and what rule's going to come up or what they're going to change at the last minute, it just makes it difficult when we're the ultimate insurer on everything.
Yeah, definitely. Because right when that started coming out, you started seeing guys get in trouble, and guys and gals, but trainers, they were getting in trouble for, things like Regimate and a few other things that was very, they weren't, to me, they weren't going to, make you performance enhancing or anything like that. But they're getting 25,000 and 1 to 2 year suspension.
And that's where I think it's overkill, Jeff. I mean, I the perfect example was the lady in Washington, Mary Peroni. I mean, lady's got 1 or 2 horses. She's in her 70s. I mean, was a school teacher. She's not trying to push the envelope or move her horses up. And they said she had a filly and a gelding next to each other. Yeah, I don't know. They nosed each how the regiment got spread or whatever. But to give that lady 2 years and $25,000 fine, I mean, that's a push on the system, I believe.
I agree with you there. And it would be nice if, they what I heard was they had an advisory board that kind of came in and sat on that. And I think, maybe the advisory board could weigh in on some of these, especially because they're specific cases. I know they want to kind of have, here's the rules, ABC, and there's no black and white. But even the stewards know there's mitigating circumstances. There's things that, you got to see the whole picture.
Absolutely. The mitigating circumstances have to come in and you have to see the whole picture. And then, yeah, I mean, I understand a set of rules for a set of penalties or whatever, but you've got to weigh the black and white on things like that. I mean, that's where it gets to me. That's where things upset me, is when it's a different set of rules for one person than it is another, and you shouldn't be able to get away with something if you have 200 horses or you have 2, but you've got to be able to see the black and white on some of those things. Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Jeff.
So we were talking about Arizona and a little bit of the uncertainty. What is your feeling now that you've been running for about 3 weeks or so at the meet?
I really think that they'll make a commitment to run next year. I'd heard some talk that Mr. Sims spoke at the Department of Racing meeting the other day, and he talked about, having a meet next year as long as there was no hiccups and he didn't get a lot of pushback and things, which, I mean, I think he could come in here and fix some things up and this place would be beautiful again. I tell people all the time, I tell my wife all the time, that, Jeff, I can remember coming to this place as a kid from Prescott Downs and thinking you'd went to Santa Anita when you walked up the front side, the flowers, the palm trees, the grass. You could look out from the top of the grandstand and it was the most beautiful thing you ever saw, So I think with just a little fix up, this place, and you're getting a mass influx of horses from California. Yeah, I mean, with the closure of soon to be Golden Gate and things like that, those guys are going to have a spot to land. I think if we start next year, end of October, 1st of November, we'll have a full barn area, and starting the meet short and the uncertainty. People have come out and they filled the entry box. We've had some 5 and 6 horse fields, but it's picking up steam every week. Horses are getting fitter, more people are coming. So I think they're going to see a very successful meet this year and running for great money, Jeff.
Yeah, the purses look really good right now. And I noticed some trainers from Southern California, Northern California, as well as some jockeys coming over from Santa Anita that are riding both places. Oh,
what a strong colony this year with your regulars, my guy, Luis Negron and that. But then you've got Esel Espinoza, Guillermo Rodriguez, Irvin Orozco's come over. I mean, this is the strongest this jockey colony's been in 30 years, probably, Jeff. I mean, it's strong. You look up and used to, if you didn't get 2 or 3 guys, you were searching. Now you can go to the bench and get 6 or 7 guys, it looks like, So it's a strong, deep colony, and the purses have showed it, and you're getting a lot of participation from Tamayo's coming from Northern California. Pete Miller's brought some. Doug O'Neill. I mean, they're participating in a strong meet.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, going back a ways, a few years even at Turf Paradise, I used to see pictures on the wall where there was stakes races, $100,000 and $200,000. Some were even graded. They don't have those pictures on the wall anymore. But you grew up there in Arizona. Could you you mentioned about how the heyday was when you were a kid. A little bit about your background, Justin. Like, what did you grow up around racing, or how did that evolve? Trainer.
You know, my mom and dad always joked that they started taking me to the track when I was a week old. You know, so I went with them. My dad trained quarter horses in the 80s, and he was fortunate enough to land a job for R.H. Kekeffer, that was a big quarter horse guy, and eventually dabbled in some thoroughbreds with Baffert. Baffert trained for him some good quarter horses back in the 80s at Los Alamitos and stuff like that. And my dad went to work for him at the farm in Prescott, and that's when I grew up in Chino Valley, about 10 miles out of Prescott. And so we spent all summer at the old track Prescott Downs, and then back then we used to go on the county fairs. They had an Arizona fair circuit that was 2 weeks in every small town in Arizona: Holbrook, Globe, St. John's. I mean, it was just we'd miss the first 8 weeks of school going to all those places. You know, it was I mean, I wouldn't have traded my childhood for anything for that stuff. And yeah, the good old days, the glory days of Phoenix. We'd come in. I can remember, Jeff, the Phoenix Gold Cup being a grade 3, and you'd get Pinkai would come and ride it, and Shoemaker would come and ride it. And I'll never forget the first time I saw Let the Big Hoss Roll, a Bob Baffert's run in it. You know, it was the greatest. You know, I mean, you really thought you'd coming from the old track in Prescott Downs to come down here to turf and see it. You thought, man, I've really made it. I finally made it in this game. You know, so I just hope we can return to that and get some graded races again here, and you know, those 150 and 200,000s back. I mean, that would be great.
I know a sprint. You know, typically the track's pretty fast at Turf Paradise, but I think, like you said, some of those really good sprinters, they come along and they would have oftentimes one of the fastest records in the North America coming right out of Turf Paradise.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Mr. Papillon. The mile record here is like, you know, 1:33 and change or something like that. That'll be tough to bring down. I mean, they had good horses coming here and running the Gold Cup and break track records, and there was good horses coming here and got beat in the Gold Cup. I can remember as a kid, you know, but they Lyman Rollins used to have Answer Due here. I mean, there was just great horses. I mean, you could show up and come to the races, and like I say, you'd really thought you'd win someplace coming down here. So if we could get a little glimpse of that, the old days back, and the new generation, it would be amazing.
And who are some of the people that you worked for along the way?
When I was a kid, I worked for Owen McDaniel, which was a great quarter. We grew up with quarter horses, you know, and back then I didn't pay any attention to thoroughbreds. You know, I never wanted thoroughbreds. I was a quarter horse guy my whole life growing up, you know, and I was able to work for Owen McDaniel as a kid, and he taught me a lot. I mean, Owen did things back in the 80s like people do now, where everything matches. It was a tight run ship. Horses got done up every day. They got brushed 2 or 3 times a day. There was never a mane out of place. There was never a bridle path not clipped. I mean, it was a good run show. So he taught me a lot as a kid growing up. And I got to be around really good trainers when I was a kid in Arizona. Chris Hartman was a great trainer. He left here and's done leading trainer at Oaklawn, has done extremely well. Weston Martin was a really good trainer in New Mexico. And so I got to grow up around some good guys. And then once I got older, Baffert's always been my idol. So I just always patterned my training and the things I did after Baffert. And then I got an opportunity to work for Steve Asmussen for a little while, taking care of some of his strings when he'd send him to New Mexico. And to be able to be and learn and watch things from a Baffert and an Asmussen, it just makes you step up your game, Jeff. It makes you want to be that much better. I mean, when you can see Steve win 10,000 races, you think, man, I'm closing in. I'm 7 or 8 away from 2,500. I think I'll have to train till I'm 90 to catch this Steve. But I mean, it sets the bar high, and it makes you want to step up your game all the time, Jeff.
That's one thing I'll say, that you know, your barn is always tip top. Everything's neat and clean, so you can tell that you got the boys cracking, and you know, the horses come out looking good. And it doesn't hurt that you know, you have a strong barn of horses, and you enter where they can be very good shots, and you're not afraid. If you lose one, you're going to go get one or two. So you're very good at all aspects of the game.
Well, I appreciate that. And I just think that you have to be aggressive in this game. And I learned that early on, when I was a kid. You'd have one or two horses and you'd be scared to death to lose them. And then once I kind of got the concept, I thought, man, you've got to be aggressive. You need to be the one they're afraid of claiming from you, not them, you claiming from them, not them claiming from you, And so I've always had really good owners. I've been very blessed to have good owners that backed me and let me kind of run my show and let me run the horses where they can win. And then, as well as I do, it's help, Jeff. You know what I mean? If you've got good help, things run smooth. If you're having to go down there and check on them all the time, it makes it tough. But I've got some boys that have been with me a while. I'm blessed to have that. And they know my system. They know my routine. They know what I want. They know I like things clean and everything kind of done as right as we can, and it makes the game so much easier. I mean, that you came here to Phoenix and just crushed them, Jeff. Went to Emerald, had all that success, but you had a strong barn. That's what it takes, and take some guys behind you pushing.
It's kind of nice here to be in this conversation back and forth when we were in the trenches together. And I know the race caller, Craig Braddock, he'd say, "Oh, look at Jeff and Justin going back and forth on Twitter, now X." But they'd say, "Oh yeah, it's nice to see a little friendly trainer banter," because I'd have a nice little run for the week, and you'd say, "Man, nobody's hotter than Jeff Metz," and I said, "Only Justin Evans." So then, we'd go back and forth like that. So,
and it's good to have good friends in this game, Jeff, and we've been good friends a long time, and to have that camaraderie and that you can joke around and kid around, it's good to have that. There's so many people that are jealous or whatever, but God, if you can't root for your friend, you're in bad shape,
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, you like horse racing, you train, you're competitive, both of us. And so it's, we're competitors, but hey, we can go have a beer after the races too. So
absolutely. No, it's rooting for your buddy and, yeah, we want to win every race. We hate getting beat, but like I say, when you can let it all go at the end of the day and go enjoy something, and it's in a deal where there's no sport like this. We see each other every day, Jeff. The basketball players, football players see each other once or twice on the field once in a while. And, they don't have to share a locker room with each other. We share barns. We share the same racetrack. So you've got to have that good working, friendly relationship with people. And maybe not everybody's going to be a fan, but like I say, when you got a few good ones, like good friendships like we've had, it works out well. Makes the game way more enjoyable.
I know sometimes your wife will be an agent. Working that closely with someone like that?
Well, sometimes I got to sleep on the couch if I give a call away or don't put her on. But no, it's good, because me and Vanessa have been together 14 years now, and she's been at the barn with me when she wasn't an agent. Thank God she's my go-to. I couldn't do it without her, It makes it fun when she's an agent because we can share in the success together. She's always ran kind of a lot of the business, from the owners and billing and stuff at the barn. She's always went. And if I have to be in Sunland for a little while when we're in New Mexico and we're setting up in Farmington, she always went and set up the barns. And it's just great to have somebody that you can work with every day, that you can go home and enjoy things with. And like I say, it makes it so much more enjoyable for us, especially when her rider wins for me and we have some success together. The only thing is I've got to buy the donuts all the time, no matter what.
That's true.
Yeah. The donuts come out of my account for some reason. I still haven't got that one figured out, but her job check never comes my way, but the donut bill comes my way.
That's it. Yeah. And for the people watching, typical, if the jockey wins a race for you as a trainer, their agent brings donuts the next day. So, the grooms, they look forward to that. They're like, hey, we won 3 races yesterday. We should have 3 boxes of donuts, So.
Sure. So yeah, no, when the donuts come, the grooms enjoy it, and it's great. It gives them guys a little something to look forward to, and they share with the neighbors and stuff like that, or razz the neighbors that we win a couple more than the other barn and stuff like that. So, and you put it all together, like I say, there's no greater game than this one we're playing, my man.
Gotcha. So if you were to say, you've been up and down the West Coast and, New Mexico, Louisiana, you've added to, have you ever had clients or any inclination of going farther east?
You know, I've had a lot of people talk to me about it, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I've just been scared to make that next step. Sometimes, you know, I get a little worried getting out of my comfort level. Like Louisiana, I was a little worried when I first got down there. And thank God, like I say, for my wife, she'd always try to pump me up and tell me, you can train anywhere, you know, you can train anywhere. And I think you just got to have the backing, Jeff. You know what I mean? If you could get the right clients put together and make the move, I do think East is probably the way to go. Anymore purses are strong. Kentucky, I mean, New York, Oakland. I mean, look at those. They run $140,000, $130,000 maiden special weights down there. But it's just having the stock to compete. You've got to get that good, you know, try to add that group of horses together that you know you can make the move with and have the backing behind you. And yeah, I hope someday it comes. I mean, it's every trainer's dream to win the Kentucky Derby, to have those big races, Breeders' Cups, you know, I mean, Triple Crown races, you know. So I think the only shot, you know, a guy's going to get is if he goes that way. You know, Southern California is so tough. You know what I mean? It's so tough, Jeff. I mean, you've been out there and battled it, you know, but when you line up and it's Bobby B and those guys, Doug O'Neill, I mean, it makes it super tough. You know what I mean? Super tough. But I think East is the way to go. I believe, don't you?
You know, you got Oakland Park, you got Kentucky, and they have really, you know, souped up the purses where you're looking at over $100,000 maiden races, $120,000, $140,000 allowance race. And you were mentioning Santa Anita, and one thing is you might see, oh, the field sizes are 5 and 6 horse fields, but like you said, 2 Bob Baffords, a Doug O'Neill, you know, and they're just loaded and they're very strong horses. So, you know, they come in. There's just a lot of good horses, you know, right now. 2 of them left to go to Saudi Arabia and run. So you're going to have National Treasure and White Barrio battling in the desert. So, you know, we'll see how they do.
It's so strong out there. I mean, I think I've always believed, and then I've had bias because, you know, I'm a Baffert fan and stuff, but the West Coast horses are strong. I mean, you look, Doug O'Neill wins, you know, 2 Kentucky Derbies. Bob's win all those Kentucky Derbies. I always think the better Derby horse generally comes from the West Coast, and that can be argued, but I just think that it's so strong out there. When you look up at those maiden special weight races, and like you say, there's 2 Baffert steamers in there, there's 2 Doug O'Neill steamers in there, a Sadler. I mean, those races are just tough to win, where when you look at these other places, they're a little bigger fields and stuff, but I think they're a notch behind sometimes. So if you can get that stock put together and somebody that's willing to spend the money and make the move, I think a guy can have a go at it. I really do.
Have you, in the past, ever had more than one string going at one time?
Yeah. You know, lots of times in, you know, New Mexico, I'd have, you know, a barn at Ruidosa and a barn at Albuquerque or Farmington. You know, I did it for a little while here in Phoenix, have a barn going, and a barn in New Mexico, Sunland Park or Zia Park, something like that. And I'm so much more comfortable when I can see the horses every day. I've never thought my other string was as strong as my first, Jeff, you know? So I've always tried to keep it, you know, number wise, where I can be in one spot, because I just think I can manage it better. I just think things maybe get done a little better when I'm there. You know, good help makes a big difference. You know, a good assistant makes a big difference, but there's very few Jimmy Barnes and Scott Blossies out there, you know, so it makes it tough to find that guy that cares about the horses in the barn and wants to win as bad as you do. You know, I mean, so many times you find these guys that come in and they just want to learn your system and then move on, or maybe try to hustle your clients, or you get these other guys that just don't know enough. So it's tough. I mean, it's very, very tough, I think, to spread out. And we were really proud of the year we had back. I think it was 2013 or 14. I was like 3rd leading trainer in the country to Steve and Carl Broberg. And we only were based in New Mexico, but we had a lot of numbers, and they ran more thoroughbred races back then, it seemed like, but to do that out of one spot, it was a huge accomplishment to me.
Yeah, definitely. You're always a high percentage and high wins. And so, you know, definitely you should be proud of that. If you weren't a trainer, what do you think you would be doing?
God, I don't know. I probably should have been a rock star is what I should have been. You know, I'm afraid that ship has sailed, Jeff, but you know, it's never
too late. It's never too late.
I'd look up and see me on American Idol one of these days. Hopefully somebody watching this, I saw that guy and he's on American Idol now, but
that's right.
You know, right. always thought, I wouldn't mind being in management. I mean, I'd like to still be involved with racing, Jeff, but, you know, uh, like a general manager at a track, maybe not a big one, but, I always thought Sunray Park was a track I really liked in Farmington, smaller track and stuff like that. And I always thought, man, if the gig ever came open, I wouldn't mind giving my throwing my hat in the ring, because I just think people like me and you that have had the experience, I think we can do more for a racetrack, Jeff, than maybe somebody with a Harvard business degree or something. We know the backside. Maybe they know the numbers a little better than us, but God, we know what it takes to make things happen. And we know what it takes to make people come to the track and enjoy good racing and stuff. And, I've pitched some ideas to those guys when I was in New Mexico, and they tried it, and it worked really well. So that would be something I'd be real interested in one day, is maybe, once the kids get through school or something and a person's ready to settle down and, do something, it'd be something I'd really enjoy, I think.
Gotcha. And when you're not between the kids and racing, you probably don't have a lot of free time, but what outside of the racetrack do you like to do in your free time?
God,
nothing.
Vanessa just screamed out nothing. I don't vacation. Jeff, Del Mar used to be fun when we could go spend time with you and your family out there and watch the races and try to buy and claim some, but it was like a working vacation all the time. We go to horse sales every year in Kentucky. Me and my old son, Austin, we got into buying sports memorabilia that my wife would like to kill me for, but we got into collecting that about a year ago, and we really enjoyed that. We go to some memorabilia shops around here, and we've got a pretty good collection we're proud of. We got some Tom Brady helmets and some Patrick Mahomes helmets and stuff like that. So that's kind of been about our only hobby. I'm not a golfer. I'm not a card player. I'm not a gambler or anything like that. So it makes it tough. And between the kids, they've always got something planned for me, usually on the weekends or a day off. We've got some adventure plans. So if we can travel a little bit and take some time like that, we really enjoy it. And I enjoy my days that I get to spend some time with them and just a little quiet time. The phone always rings. You try to limit that a little bit on off days and when you're trying to do stuff, but we try to vacation, take all the kids someplace once or twice a year, and so that's about my biggest hobby, is a little vacation and hanging out with the kids.
Excellent. And if something doesn't materialize and you take you back east for some reason, do you think right now you would look at Emerald Downs and Phoenix, and that would be your back and forth and basically up the bulk of your season and your year?
Yeah. I mean, that would be great, because it's a pretty good spot going back and forth, especially when Emerald will run into September, and then Phoenix would start hopefully October, November, something like that. The horses get home in time to have a little break. You can freshen some up if you want to take some to the farm for a week or two, a little downtime. You can back off some, and it makes a real good, kind of route. I considered Iowa. I think you went back to Iowa a couple of years ago and stuff. I mean, purses are good. They're strong there. The field sizes are fairly short. You know what I mean? So we always like short fields as a trainer, but I would love to see the Emerald Phoenix route make it happen and make a go of it,
Yeah, no, that it's a good circuit. I did it for a long time, and now a little change, but hey, it's always good. So anything else any other ideas that come to you that you would want to throw at management that you would like to see happen at Turf Paradise?
I would just like them to promote the game some more, Jeff. I mean, they had a huge opening day crowd, a thing that was big when I was a kid. Everybody got the paper, and I know things have changed. Things are on the internet, social media, but man, if you can step up your game on the social media stuff and do some things like that, and I think get the crowds more involved in meeting the jockeys. And, I thought Emerald did a great job of getting people, all the people up there knew the jockeys, they knew the trainers, they had their favorites. Get where we have that kind of relationship with the public again, and let these people do the barn tours again, Jeff, and let these people come out and see. I tell my kids, everything we have, we owe to a racehorse, Jeff. Every bit of food we've ever put in our mouth, that Xbox they're playing, those jerseys they're wearing to school has been paid for by a racehorse, And I think if people got out and saw that, they would see that, they're just not a business tool to us. They're family, man, so when they win and we can share that in the winner's circle, and if these people come back and see the labor and the work that goes into it, and the groom's taking care of them, I mean, you got to love your job to work from 4 in the morning till noon, and then back at 1 or 2 till 4 or 5 at night, 7 days a week, they'd see that this game means something to us. And let the public see that, and get the interaction with the fans, and put it out there more. The billboards, the newspapers, the jockeys' autographs, let them throw T-shirts in the crowd, let them throw goggles in the crowd. I think people love that, and then they'll tell a friend, and they'll bring a friend, and maybe one of those friends is a next guy that wants to buy the next Kentucky Derby winner. You never know.
Definitely. And I would say, when you have those, maybe before the races, you could have the jockeys come out, sign some whatever, posters, shirts, or just autographs or whatever, or just shake hands, take pictures. I think, some of the trainers, there could be no reason why the trainers couldn't do a little sit at the table and have people line up and come up and visit them, shake hands, say hi. And yeah, definitely the more interaction, the better. And definitely the part about where you mentioned the grooms and how the exercise riders and the grooms and the hot walkers work with the horses. And yeah, I mean, it's like when a horse gets claimed, they get a little sad to see it go. Or, when they win, they're on the other side and extremely happy, and they're proud of their horse and their work that they put into it. So yeah, definitely the more I think the fans could be involved, the better. And I know it's hard to keep it at a feverish pitch, like opening day was, but I think that the more you can do it, the better. Like, a couple times a week.
I love to watch those videos where they show the grooms of those horses for the Breeders' Cup and stuff like that, jumping up and down and exciting and cheering.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had somebody follow a horse up to the paddock and watch him get
Mm-hmm.
saddled, and follow the groom over to the other side, and win, lose, or draw, their emotions. I mean, it just shows the everyday that we're real hardworking people that love the animals and want this business, need this business to succeed, to feed our families and things like that, Jeff, and see the other side of it, and I think if we could do more of that and get people involved, I mean, I think it'd be a great game again, which it's the greatest game in the world if we can just promote it. And, they want to focus on the negative, but they never want to focus on the positive. There's so many good people in this business, and the things that people do for other people, and the donations when riders get hurt or a groom gets hurt or something. The backside chips in, and there's GoFundMe's, and there's fundraisers, and there's things like that. It's like our own little community back here, and to see the good people that are back here, the hardworking people need to experience that. The outside world needs to see that.
Yeah. And a lot of times, most backsides, as they're like little cities. They have track kitchen, cafeteria, a chaplain, recreation place, a soccer field, basketball, whatever. And there's they're living right there with the horses. So there's a lot of things that I think that's why one of the reasons I wanted to do this show was to bring so people could see the jockeys, the trainers, the breeders and stuff, and just get more involvement and a little behind the scenes and how people feel, because it's hard. I know when you're at the races, and you got 3 or 4 runners and you're looking to claim, and it's hard to really talk to a trainer when they're right in the middle of their day. So once the races are done and we can have a few minutes, I thought we could, share some ideas and throw it out to the public.
No, I think it's great what you're doing. And I know this show is going to be a huge success. I think that if we can do things like this, and like I got a lot of, like Santa Anita plays, and I know New York does, they play the jockeys against the high school kids in basketball and stuff like that. I mean, it's got to be a huge turnout for that. If we did that around here, it would be huge, Jeff. And the jockeys going to the children's hospitals and stuff like that. I mean, all of that we can do. I just think it's such a great thing for those people that get to enjoy it, and for the jocks and the trainers and the owners and the grooms that are getting to enjoy it too. I just think it's such a good thing if we can promote and push. This thing will keep moving forward. It'll be, like I say, it'll be like the good old days again.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, I really appreciate you taking some time out today. I know we'll be chatting and talking because, we've been good friends for a long time, and then we will for a long time to come. So I appreciate the time.
This was great, Jeff. Anytime. I love it. You're a rock star. Best looking trainer on Emerald Downs or Phoenix. Next to me is Jeff Metz.
There you go. Hey, maybe we'll become rock stars together. How's that?
Start the band together. We'll put it together. I'll start working.
That's right. That's right. Hey, say hi to Vanessa and the family, and all the best and continued success.
You do the same. Thanks, Jeff. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Tracking trips with Pick 6 King John Stetton. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit pastthewire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better.